Good morning, happy people. My name is Jay Song. Good to see you. I'm glad that you're joining us today. Welcome to ChartRoom. Today is October 25th. I don't know if you guys can hear the train in the background, but I can hear the train. We got something very important to talk about today. Very important ChartRoom I want you guys to be aware of. We've been talking about the volume in our charts in certain areas of the chart that seem to be very important. One of the areas that we're looking at right now for USDT.D is the upward area. This area up here. When price rises on USDT.D, your cryptos are often in a negative spot. Bitcoin has a more chance of going up. The more room this has to play, the more negative things are for cryptos. I personally believe we should really still be gravitating towards these areas here. Number one, we have a rising candle, and not only did we hit the number where we called along this track. It was, I moved it down. I moved this one up a little bit, but it was right here at 5.8, 5.5, these areas up here. And our higher 5.7 when this moves along the track is the next area I really believe we're going to be hitting. During the flash crash USDT, which represents the dominance of Tether, it moved up all the way to this area, and then we came and sat down on here. When we have hit that area, we compared in the volume to the previous areas, and you can see in the volume that the last time we were here, we were not as high up. Oh, sorry, it's right here. We were not as high up as we are now. We can tell that in the increase, even on the averages, we're much higher in the volume, which tells us that the supply at this area has not been absorbed by the professionals. It has not been controlled by the flow of the market, which means generally after those days, even though we had came all the way back down the next week, back to here, I told everybody in my reports over the last many days, I told people, look for us to gravitate back to here because of that particular challenge. And so those reports were released, I believe it was last Saturday. We got back on vacation. We were talking about these areas. We also measured that this is the area, and I tell people, I said, I feel like a weatherman because this is the area where I really believe we're going to be gravitating to. But the other areas, and because of that, I believe that things are going to be a bit negative for Bitcoin, for the market, especially as we build them here. The very next candle after the break, we stop on this line here, and I drew this red here. I also drew the smaller delays and health that were coming into the market over the last many months. You guys know all about that, so you can get a good feel. We've been drawing these areas, we've been drawing those areas, and we draw the parabolic area. We talked about this area being a delay. I told everybody expect a bounce of up and down. We went up, we went down. That was a very nice delay. Delay is when price just doesn't really go anywhere. It wastes your time. But something new was forming on this next area. So we covered all of these in the last few weeks, last few months. This is something that you guys can find in our community. If you're interested, we plot maps on cryptos all the time. We were drawing this area as a state of health, and underneath this area, this one should be a little bit lower. Underneath these areas should be where weaknesses start to appear. However, it's a very small weakness as the major weakness is here, and we're going to talk about this in just a little bit, and that's going to be the large flat that has been forming at 4.2%. This is a very important area for us. Marking our major leveled out parabolic at 4.7 to 4.864, we can see that we got the break above and the volume was still high. On the down move, when we look at the volume next for this bar, volume comes back to normal. We come up and bounce off of that, and that's going to complete our break over here. So we can see that it was not just the previous flash crash day, but the volume the very next day are still much higher than they've been in quite a while. So we can see there's a lot of energy that is for this movement. In other words, what I believe is happening for the market is that there's a coordinated push into health. There's a coordinated move to move this into a more positive area for this chart, but that's actually a negative thing for the crypto market. Again, when this chart moves up, your cryptos are moving down. So now we see a next very interesting thing. We can see that the targets at 4.97, 4.88, which we've had for quite a while. We've had for many months those targets on our board. You can take a look at our old maps on our website. Just type the word USDT .d, and you can see all of our previous maps. We do these maps about twice a week. The next target up here, we can see that we hit our target again, came down, but look where we're sitting. We're now sitting on top of this area. You can see some of the candles building up on the upper portion of it, and then today's candle sitting right here. If we continue to build in this area, this is more confirmation we should be getting up to there. So now let me talk about why I believe we're going to be going to a much higher spot. These were going to be some, let me just read some of the further comments. Here's one from October 18th, a significant close above this 5%. On the weekly chart, it should have been. It indicates a bearish move for the markets, bearish for Bitcoin. Above 5.871 is also an important close. 5.71, that's going to be this area. We're going to talk about that in just a second. And then I also said price has until December 22nd on the weekly chart to reveal more health, and that was the maximum time, but this one is no longer needed since the health was revealed a lot sooner. Those healths were broke up just during the flash crash week when I was on vacation and we sat down here. Now, of the larger move, you can see there's a larger resistance closer to the 5.7 and 6.5. That's going to be where connecting three major energy center tops, the centers of all those up move energy, center of this energy, center of that energy. We call those energy centers, and they level out approximately here based on the core, here based on the wick match, and that's going to be these two wicks, 1, 2. So the cores line up about right here. The bulk of the move is here, so this area would indicate where price has a higher chance of moving up, except we got some problems in that area, and that is going to be, we're going to have to deal with the flat with a valid supply test being at that area. This is going to be a very interesting area. We can see the volume is about the same from both areas, so I'm not really expecting to go up anywhere higher at this current moment than these ranges. I'm not expecting to get too much higher than about right there, and that's going to be a closer to below 6.82. So we're talking about the 6.5s area. So somewhere between 6.3 and 6.82, closer to 6.5. That's where I'm looking to get to, and that's going to be a negative area for crypto. So when cryptos move into that, I'm looking for cryptos to continue to be bearish. Just as we've examined the volume, we should be there and getting bearish in these seasons. So this is where we should be playing at based on the volume. This is a very natural thing for price to be in this area. The other thing we can see in the down move itself is the foundational move is still not over, which means that I'm not looking for a giant crash. I'm not looking for this to do anything too spectacular, but it will be scary. It will be scary for people. It will be a down thing for crypto, but I don't believe it's like the crash to zero, in my opinion, based on where we're going. The foundational area is based on here, 1, 2, and 3 approximately, and it's going to give us this. Now, these areas are going to act a lot like resistance. So even if price is starting to go up, we can see that we got some roofs here, the flat and the down move. So lots of resistance in this area, which means that even though I think price is supposed to gravitate to those areas, I think we're going to get suppressed by all the energy that's going to be found in that one. So overall, I think that's definitely where the market's going to be, where we're going to reverse, and I think it's going to be completing this larger oscillation that's going to be taking place. I think that's really the larger oscillation that is happening in the market. Now, when that happens, the next big things that I'm really tracking on the board that are not on the board, I tell people this all the time. I've been telling it for the last few years. You guys have known about the larger down moves that I'm expecting. And the larger down move that's been in this last year, we've had a target down here. That target was hit back all the way back in March of 2024, and then we hit it. And then we hit it again approximately in December 2024. But the other things that happen is we're now forming a flat by which we can measure the volume. In this area, we can see an increase in the volume at the challenge areas, which indicate that the supply has not been absorbed. And because it's such a strong increase in volume, even though there may be buyers, the buyers are not winning the game. So not just buying coming in, but the buyers are losing, which means we should be challenging those areas in the future. Now, the shorter game is that we're not there. We didn't enter the last weakness to trigger that event. This is something we're watching for, that 4.2 area. If you draw only one map on my map, you take away one of my lines. I want you to take away that 4.22. That's going to be a very big trigger. When price finally builds below that or get some closes below that, I think we're going to be going down to this area here I marked in white, and it's going to be 3.52. This 3.52 area is about where I expect we're going to be getting to, and I have a big star here. Now I also have a star above here, but the truth is we've already been to these areas before in the past, but that's where I believe we're going to be going to immediately after this moment. So when we get a close below 4.22, that's when we're going to trigger this, and then I believe we're actually going to be hitting now the lower side of the same target. 3.45 is the low side, and so there's also a target here. It's a swing target at 3.30 in our sword method art. It's a place we track on the maps, and you can see our lessons and our target system videos for that and how you can calculate some of those. But overall they overlap here, and then I had a dream and a vision of these two events, a dream and a vision. One of them was a dream, one of them was a vision. I don't remember which one it was at the top of my head. It's been such a while now, where we were at this, we were at a top, we were at a bottom, and we were coming up from this area, and we were going like this, and we were going on a curve. And I thought, wow, that's really nice. We're going to see a pullback, but because of the curve, we're going to have another chance to continue the move down. And then later, I believe it was the dream, I saw we were underneath this pink line. I estimated, based on the dream, somewhere around 2.5, 2.7. I think it's there, possibly even lower, but it's somewhere approximately in this area. I saw that, and as I let you guys know for the last year or so, that this is something I saw in a vision in a dream. So because of these areas, what I'm thinking is really going to happen is where we're really going to reverse at is going to be there. That's when these are going to be triggering. I've had these on my board for over a year or so. Possible large crash for the markets. I think it's going to be somewhere in these areas, and that's going to be where that takes place. Another area where there could be a strong flash crash is if we were to build above 6.82. Again, it's not on the board right now, but if I see candles building above that area and I see us sitting on that, if we're able to get above that area, that's another area where the large flash crash can be. That means we're going to be able to get above those areas of the 6.82 areas and be able to move up, and that's going to be a very negative area for cryptos. And then we'll track the flat, and then so forth and so on. We'll be able to do that. And thank you. If you guys are watching this clip online, make sure you like and subscribe. Otherwise, I want you guys to join our community. We're going to talk about Bitcoin in just a second. I'm going to add that to my report. This is going to be a public report for YouTube. So if you're new, you can join us on our website, patreon.com/jsong_7. We meet 3 times a week for ChartRoom. We meet on Sundays for WordRoom at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today is our Saturday session, and then the first Saturday of every month is always free. So if you guys sign up on our website, you can also sign up for a free 7-day trial. It's $18 for the full month. Otherwise, just get a 7-day trial and come to a few meetings and learn a few things. And we talk about volume. We've been talking about the new 7.0 series in our art, and we're coming over an in-depth look at RSI in the Contra RSI indicator, how we're using that to maximum effect, and the various ways we can use the new RSI price base to identify tops based on old tops that had formed a long time ago. So, and the principles that are all within that, we've been just filming those lessons. So I'm glad the next one will be on next Wednesday, so you guys can show up. As we continue with our message report for today, again, these are going to be some very important things for USDT.D. And right now, that down move is, again, not on the board. I don't see it on the board. It's not on the board right now. I don't expect we're going to be getting there anytime soon. Right now, these are the areas that are on the board, 5.71 and then the 6.82 dynamic negative. And that dynamic negative means as time goes on, this is going to be coming down. This chart that we're looking at today is a 2-day chart, and that means that every 2 days there's another bar that's forming. All of this telling us there's health in this. This is the next confirmation of health. Everything seems to be going according to plan over the last few weeks. The small health delay, lack of weakness into this means lack of triggering the next bull run. The next bull run triggers down here if we were just in this oscillation. Otherwise, right now, the next bull run is going to be triggering when we're in these areas rejecting. So this is how I might view it. If I was going to draw it, I might draw something like this to the downside, and I might make it really big and white, but I'll just draw a little bit of arrow so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Okay, so I might look at something like this in these areas and not really anything sooner. Now, Bitcoin is a very important thing. Between Bitcoin and USDT.D, you can get a very good picture of what's approximately supposed to happen in the market. If Bitcoin is clear, if Bitcoin is giving you powerful information, and if USDT.D is giving you information, other information you can gather from total 3, total 2, you can use those in their totality. That was a funny joke. Oh, nobody laughed. Okay. Anyway, you can use this. In my opinion, Bitcoin is in a negative spot. So I think it was on Saturday and Monday, I told you guys what I believe is starting to happen based on the weekly chart. So let's start with the weekly chart, and I'll show you these three smaller energy centers. Now, this is what I believe is actually forming on Bitcoin right now. I believe that Bitcoin is moving up, and these are the three major energy centers that make up what is happening, and that's going to be, first of all, these parabolics. So 1, 2, and 3, and they form a shape like this. Now, when we combine this with the volume, we can make an important part of information. You need to understand that this area is a strong area to be in for Bitcoin. It's 111,000. On a monthly chart, you can also see that these have been a strong areas for Bitcoin. You can see over the many months back in March of 2024, we can see it's building above the old flats, and then we start building, and then we just go up after that, which is really nice. Now, and now that we go smaller to the weekly charts, a similar event is happening. Here's our old flat, and we're building up here. And you can see that we rounded on top, and then we came back up here. The problem is, when we challenged during the flash crash event and the week before the flash crash event, this was not a big surprise. So here's the week of the flash crash. I believe it's October 6th. And then you can see from here to here, the volume strongly increases at the challenge area. Now, what does this mean? We know for our community, this is a very easy thing because we do classes on this all the time. But when we're challenging, again, on a high increase in volume, we can see that the supply in this area has not been controlled, has not been absorbed. We use the symbol with an A and a little slash and a C to measure and see that the buyers, even if there's buyers on the down bars, they have not won the game yet. They have not absorbed the supply in this area. Now, it's only a matter of time, however, if weakness starts to appear by the fact that if price stays low within this oscillation, if price only just went to the side, eventually it goes onto the side of weakness. So the very fact that we start getting onto this side is already a negative. So the longer it takes without a bounce is a negative thing for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is challenging this area, and at the challenges area A and B, we can see that there's been an increase in volume there. So because of the increase at the challenge area, and I'll just make sure I draw it so you guys can see it. A, B, the relationship is an increase in volume. Because of that increase at this area, it tells us we need to be playing here longer. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand, again, if there's an oscillation that goes up and we stay longer on the downside, then we already know the next thing that's going to happen. Weakness. So we're supposed to be in this area where weakness is playing out and playing out. So if there's weakness, the next question would be, okay, how can we prove there's weakness? Is there more weakness appearing? One of the easiest things we can see to measure that weakness is to look for the candle closes underneath the measured parabolic. So we're measuring this parabolic here, and we can see that based on it, price, if it was building on the underside of this, and I'm going to delete this delay because we've been in that delay area, so we're just bouncing up and down. But we can see, and I'll borrow this one. If we're building on the underside of this and we're not able to close back within the oscillation, then the pressure starts taking over. All the people who are buying and are going to start slowly getting out of the market, and they're going to flood the area with supply, going to make prices hard for us to rise up. So now combine all of that together. Volume telling us we should be playing in this area. Price phasing into the weakness based on the up move. Price building on this underside of that weakness. This is confirming more and more what we're expecting for Bitcoin. I'm expecting Bitcoin to fall. The current price of Bitcoin is 11,000. Somebody asked me, I think it was on Wednesday, where do you expect Bitcoin to go? And I told them, I said, there's two places only, 13,000 and 11,000 that I'm expecting Bitcoin to go to. So this was this on the 14th? We hit the 13, we hit it 13,000 again on Tuesday, October 4th. So this would have been Monday then. And then we hit it, the 11,000. We went all the way down to 106. and came back up to 11. So those are the main resistances, and I think these are the best prices. Yesterday I opened a short on Bitcoin. Just letting you guys know personally, I opened a short on Bitcoin. I believe Bitcoin was supposed to be reversing out of these areas, and I really think that tomorrow, Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you're going to see the candle still closing underneath the parabolic, which is still around 11 to 13,000. So if you see tomorrow on the weekly chart that prices are still here, I really think what's going to happen is that we're going to be coming down. That's my opinion on Bitcoin. Now we have a target to the low side closer to 99 to 97. So 99 to 97. But the actual support or the floor, and I'll give it to you on the weekly chart so you guys can see where the floor is. This is our last accelerated move within the larger story. So we have a larger story that's happening, and this is going to be played out over several years. Here's 2012, here's 2016, 2020, 2024, somewhere around here. We can see that we're going up like this within this type of oscillation. So that's the larger thing that's happening with Bitcoin. But since those moves, we also have a tighter oscillation, which is going to be part of our straight angles. And you can see that straight angle is where we are in time right now. The next big support is going to be where that green line is, the one we just tracked, that straight angle. So it's going to be somewhere here. The other supports would be near the red area, and that's going to be closer to these angles. So one is around 99, and the other is closer to around 89,000 to 90,000. So the larger floors along the way, if you want to, I would highly suggest take a picture of this map. The whole purpose of our art is to give you guys the most important territories on prices, not to exactly do any trading for you. This is never trading, financial investment, or trading advice of any kind. This is only to tell you where the territories of your current prices may be entering, where they may be moving, where they may go into. It's great to see if price is hitting a wall. It might be great to see what the volume might be telling us as we're hitting that wall. Are we going to break the wall, or the wall's going to hold? A lot of the volume reveals a lot of that secret hidden information. Are we more likely to break a parabolic? Are we more likely to break a straight? Are we more likely to continue moving in these areas? Right now, those are the two areas where I see us entering. I see price entering a negative spot. I see all the pressure on top of that oscillation. This is an important piece of information. I hope this information blesses you. I hope you guys are just careful over the next few weeks, maybe moving into November, maybe mid-November. This can happen very quickly. This can happen over the next, here's all the way November 24th. If it takes a long time and we just continue go slow, then this can happen all the way until February, but I don't think it's going to take that long. But those are the maximum times. So soon, November 24th or somewhere February, you can see that we have a higher and higher chance to hit those two targets. I think the targets are going to hit. I think the markets are going to take a dip. I think your cryptos are going to fall. In my opinion, many cryptos that are not in a good spot right now, I think they're going to fall. I also got a very interesting email just yesterday morning from a person. They sent me, someone, a long-time member of our community, and they said, I woke up with the words, "Get out now." And they said, pray and see if you're led. I said, the only thing I see in the market is bearishness. And I said that I was going to share my report because I think I don't do enough YouTube videos. All I do is private content on our website. But I thought to give this information to you guys on the internet, and may the Lord bless you and be with you. Father, I pray that you give our community peace. I pray that you bless them, and I pray that you would be with them and give them wisdom as they put whatever they put their hands to. I pray that they may so prosper, and that you would protect them during times of famine, protect them during times of the down moves in the market. May they even prosper with down moves in the market, as some people have saw in visions and dreams that our community was prospering, shorting the market. I pray, Lord, that may very well be the case for many of our community. I pray that they would prosper shorting the market when it's time for them to short, and I pray that they would be in good position when it's time to be in position, and that you would multiply their seeds greatly using ingenuity and wisdom, such as you gave Jacob with the sheep. Even though he was given a bad deal with the spotted and the speckle, you speckled sheep and rams, you prospered him because you showed him how to prosper even in that negative situation. So show your people how to prosper in the negative situation. And that's my prayer for them. In Jesus' name, amen. This is never financial investment or trade advice of any kind. Everything's just for entertainment, educational, and comedic purposes only. I eat red crayons for breakfast, and obviously I also eat these fried bananas for breakfast. Trading in the markets carries substantial risk. Never trade more than you can afford to lose, and especially be aware against high leverage trading. Past performance is never indicative of future performance, and I think that's all you need to know. God bless you, and we'll be right back for the rest of our live session